Thank you for those who are here for the third installment of the MCU is Not Dead Yet, and this is how to save it with the Multiverse Saga for Phase 5 and Phase 6. And if you like what you see here, please like and subscribe, and let's hopefully it reach Marvel's ears so they can know what type of movies and shows we are looking for in the future. If you have not watched part one and part two of the MCU is Not Dead, and this is how to save the multiverse, I suggest you watch them first. Now, in this installment, we will be starting off with our seventh movie, which would be the X-Men movie, which would be X-Men versus the Avengers. So, how we're gonna make our X-Men different than the one from the Fox's version is that ours is gonna be more of a battle-worn X-Men. They have done their stuff already, and they have to some degree failed, as in their alternate world they were being in the midst of being hunted down, almost having a Days of Future Past happening to them midway when they ran over here to this world. And also keep in mind, Xavier is still missing, and he won't be found during this movie. And this will give us a feel of, can they still keep the dream alive when the man is not present to do so? So we are going to start this movie off actually where the Human Torch is dating She-Hulk, and they were coming back to their place because She-Hulk and Human Torch got close because, as you may remember, in the Fantastic Four movie, the Avengers got thrown into an alternate timeline, and that means She-Hulk's cousin Hulk was among them. So She-Hulk has been with the Fantastic Four, hoping that the Fantastic Four could bring her cousin and the rest of the Avengers back. So Human Torch and the She-Hulk are dating, and they come back to his place, and they're about to, make out and everything, when Wolverine suddenly jumps through the window and attacks the Human Torch, and She-Hulk has to fend him off. And she is able to fend him off and knock him out of the building, but not before he cuts down the Human Torch. And she has to watch the Human Torch die in her arms. This causes She-Hulk to be enraged, and she goes to the Fantastic Four looking for vengeance. Now, meanwhile, Jean Grey and Miss Marvel are still on the run from what happened with them and the Young Avengers. And they are seeking to find Jean Grey's old team, the X-Men, which had consist of Cyclops, Wolverine, Angel, and Beast, but they didn't know where to look. And they go to Magneto to seek sanctuary because Magneto has been building a mutant sanctuary to keep those who are mutants safe. And Magneto grants it to them, as he has granted many mutants some sanctuary. And this is where we find some people have come together and start to somewhat form this new X-Men team. We see Storm, who has also retreated from Wakanda after Black Panther was swapped by an alternate version of herself and started hunting her down. So she had a secret refuge here as well. We see Wolverine, we see Rogue, Mystique, and Iceman. And this will eventually become the new team of the X-Men. We find that Magneto had sent Wolverine to kill Human Torch and start killing off all the Fantastic Four member, as the Fantastic Four member are evil in their world, and they have crossed over to this world, and they are the ones who had created the Sentinel Project and started to hunt down the mutants, and also put events in motion that started to destroy their world. So they are seen as the bad guys, definitely by Magneto's standpoint, and must be killed and destroyed. And Jean Grey views it as wrong to go on an assassination ploy, and it's not what Xavier would have wanted. And Jean becomes increasingly concerned as she realizes Magneto's plan is to take out all the alternates from this world who have come over here to harm the mutants. And so that goes with the Fantastic Four. Meanwhile, the Fantastic Four also have a plan as well, as they realize that the mutants have attacked and killed one of their own. And the only way to stop the mutants was to bring the Avengers back from the alternate timeline. It wasn't the original plan to bring them back, but now that the X-Men have made their moves, they see no other alternative but to use Earth's greatest heroes to wipe out the Fantastic Four greatest threat. So they actually bring the Avengers back from the alternate timeline, and they even put Monica Rambeau back together and fix her as well, and then lies to the Avengers, saying that these X-Men are terrorists and they are threatening the fate of humanity and possibly maybe causing another incursion if possible. So this causes the Avengers to seek out and hunt down the X-Men, considering the Fantastic Four helped save the Earth in the last movie. And so they must be the good guys. And She-Hulk is so grateful for that She-Hulk actually even joins the Avengers team here, and they go out to stop the X-Men. And as meanwhile, the X-Men are still in their pursuit to try and stop the Four and the other people, and they realize that the president of the United States has also been swapped. So they go on their mission to expose all the people who have been swapped by alternate versions of themselves from the alternate world, and to let people realize the greater threat is not the mutants, but the alternates who are swapping people out in the Fantastic Four who's allowing it to happen. Now, this is where we find out that this team here also, unfortunately, has more conflicting priorities than probably the original team did of the X-Men, as this team doesn't trust each other. Jean Grey does not trust Magneto, who's more militant. Even though Magneto is trying to honor Xavier, his more militant ways are in great conflict with his ways, with what Xavier was proposing of his dream. And so Jean Grey doesn't trust Magneto and doesn't want Magneto to lead the X-Men. But Magneto's like there's no one else left. And Wolverine is also more militant now too, because of everything that's happened. So he's also strayed more toward Magneto's point of view and away from what Jean had believed the X-Men should be. And this would give them something to chew on. But Wolverine will also form an attachment with Miss Marvel, who will kind of soften him up a little bit. Not change him, but enough for him to like her. And that will anything to happen to her. And that will come later on the story. This will also cause a time for Storm to emerge as the leader of the X-Men group and be the person who can lead them through this and hopefully help keep the dream alive, even if it's a little bit different than how originally was intended. And eventually, as they go to expose the president as being an alternate, they come in direct opposition with the Avengers. And the Avengers team will consist of Captain America, Captain Marvel, Monica Rambeau, who will be named Photon officially by this point, Black Panther Shuri, Shang-Chi, Thor, Hulk, She-Hulk, and the Scarlet Witch. And through this fight, certain things has to happen. One, Magneto will actually fight with the Scarlet Witch, and during the conflict of the Magneto fighting the Scarlet Witch, Magneto will see his daughter in the Scarlet Witch. In the Ant-Man pitch, I expressed that Magneto's daughter was killed for being a mutant. And that person looks exactly like the Scarlet Witch. And Scarlet Witch has been also hexed by her son Billy from the Young Avengers, and she is being forced to be part of the Avengers team and under control of Billy. And the X-Men trying to bob and weave as they're trying to figure out how to expose these people and let the Avengers know that they are fighting the wrong people. During the fight, She-Hulk needs to get knocked out of the fight. And she's being incapacitated in some form and knocked out in a way from everyone else. And during the fight, Wolverine almost gets his chance to kill the president, and it's only stopped when Miss Marvel gets in the way of Wolverine trying to cut down the president, and instead she gets stabbed herself. And then Wolverine, because Wolverine does like her, stops fighting. His rage is gone. He realized he went too far. Captain Marvel also stops fighting, seeing that Kamala had took a blade that was meant for the president, but she went in out of her way to save the president's life. And this is where we start concentrating on these two characters, because throughout the story, these two characters, Wolverine, he felt like Xavier had failed the old X-Men team and that the old way did not work. So he was going a new which was back to I'm gonna kill everybody, and that's the way to go. The trying to save people, trying to doesn't work. So he went from one extreme to the next. Captain Marvel also went from one extreme to the next. Before, she would do whatever she felt was right because she had the power to do so and believed she was always right. To now, only follows what the law states without even questioning if the laws are even right or wrong. And they both are realizing they need to come to the middle, because when they don't, people are suffering. People like Kamala suffers from that. And they feel that as they see her lying bleeding, about to seem like she's about to die from Wolverine's blades. So at this moment, Jean Grey takes the opportunity to go into Monica Rambeau's mind and free Monica Rambeau of any mental manipulation or control that was thrust upon her. And with Monica Rambeau free, she's able to convince Carol Captain Marvel that they are fighting on the wrong side, and then she's able to use her ability to see things spectrally to determine who is from our world and who's from the alternate world. So they check the Avengers who were alternate. So they find out that Black Panther's alternate, take her down. Thor, they realize, is an alternate, take him down. And even Captain America is an alternate, taking him down. So they start systematically taking him down. They get to the president as they realize he's an alternate too. They're about to take him down when all of a sudden the Fantastic Four arrives. And before our heroes can do anything, they use Kang's technologies on both the X-Men and the Avengers to suck them into the alternate world. And they realize they are in an alternate world, and it's a battle world, and it's in ruins, torn apart as sentinels fly overhead, ready to kill everything, as well as other evil mutants who have taken over, such as Apocalypse and his four horsemen, which among Jean's fears, among the horsemen are people that were once her family, Beast, who's now a dark beast, and Angel, who has become Archangel. And as they're ready, the Avengers, the X-Men stand together and realize, did they lose? And Monica's more like, no. First, we save your world, and then we will save ours. And then it closed the credits. So in the post-credit scene, we see a dead Kamala. Mr. Fantastic looks at her and goes, what a shame. I would have loved to interrogate her. But then people come in, put her in a body bag, dump her in an ambulance, and the ambulance drives away. As we see in the ambulance, we see someone open the body bag and injects Kamala with something. She wakes up. She's like, what happened? And you see an agent comes out. He goes, don't worry, Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. She's like, I thought you disbanded. And then they're like, that's what we want you to think. And she's like, what happened? Why am I here? And he's like, from what I understand, someone telepathically told your brain to go to sleep. It helped slow your breathing and saved your life. And then somebody telepathically told us to come get you in case something went wrong up there. And we realized that it was Jean Grey who did so under orders of Storm, as she saw things going not well for them. So she quickly formed a contingency plan in case they couldn't get out of the situation. She looks stunned, and then he goes, what I want to know is this. He points to an image of the thing of the Fantastic Four, and he says, why is there someone pretending to be me? And then you realize this agent is Agent Benjamin Grimm. And obviously he'll be our version, the MCU's version of the thing in the next movie. Which of course the next movie would be Fantastic Four 2, Rebirth. And the second post-credit scene that also will come into play in the next Fantastic Four movie is She-Hulk suddenly waking up. And she is, remember, I told her she was incapacitated. So she never got warped away like everybody else did. So she's still on our Earth. And she wakes up and she's like, what happened? And we fade to black. And then set up for our next movie, Fantastic Four 2, Rebirth. So in that Fantastic Four 2 movie, we find ourselves opening this movie up, going back to actually the Marvels, back to the past, where the Marvels, when you see Monica Rambeau touch that first excursion point, which made them start switching bodies in the Marvels. Yeah, but we also realized when she touched that point, a shockwave rippled, not only affecting her, but it goes across and hits the station where Nick Fury's at. And we see in Nick Fury's station is Reed Richards, R. Reed Richards, and he gets hit with the wave as well. And then he started noticing afterwards his hands starting to elongate and stretch in a little bit of his neck. Now, what he does not notice is that behind him, an excursion portal opens again, and you see the alternate Reed Richards come out, points a gun at R. Reed Richards. And all we know is that he fires the gun. And then we don't know what happens next. We smash back to the present. And in the present, Agent Ben Grimm, he has gotten his statements from Kamala. She's being detained throughout the movie because we're going to keep this in Fantastic Four movie and not bring too many other elements in. So Kamala Zane and Agent Grimm has She-Hulk, the last Avenger, on surveillance to see if he can get more inkling of what happened at the White House in the last movie and where does the Fantastic Four fit in, especially when there's one of them pretending to be him. And of course, he has her on long range surveillance because it'd be foolish for someone just to come in and reveal himself. Meanwhile, Sue Storm and Johnny Storm, in an attempt to be invading people after them, go straight in to see She-Hulk because they're like, well, she's the last Avenger. She's the only one who can help us. So they go straight in and they call the evil Fantastic Four to attack and try to detain Sue Storm and Johnny Storm. However, She-Hulk is surprised that Johnny Storm is alive and soon realizes that, hey, this is not the same Johnny Storm, that there are people who are alternate. And she realized that she's been fighting on the wrong side, that the Fantastic Four that she thought she was with were evil, and these ones actually need her help. Now, how I put this in, keep in mind, Sue Storm, Johnny Storm, Ben, they have no powers. They were not there. They're regular people. They cannot do anything special to help themselves with abilities. They have to use their mind and their wits. And She-Hulk has to be the one to protect them. Now, I'm gonna pause here for a second and explain why She-Hulk is in this movie so much. Because again, people may be like, well, She-Hulk was not a good brand. Yes, She-Hulk may have come out and people didn't take to her immediately based on the reception of the TV show. However, this is again a time to rebrand her character because her character can have good purpose moving forward. And this is actually a great place for her to be because in the comics, She Hulk was at one point a Fantastic Four member. So it makes sense to pay homage to that in this film. So that's one of the reasons why she is in this film and can play a role. And through the roles that she plays, we can hopefully find reasons to like her going forward and latch on to her going forward to save the brand and to put her in future projects. So now that we figure out why this is a good brand to bring She-Hulk back in, we have the part where She-Hulk is able to save Johnny Storm and Sue Storm, and with the help of Ben Grimm, who has to reveal himself to help save them all, they're able to escape the alternate Fantastic Four forces. Realizing that they need to find out the truth, they break in into the prison cell of Doctor Doom. And they can do the breaking kind of easily because She-Hulk is also a lawyer, so she can possibly get them in to some degree as well to see the criminal. And you find out from here that Doctor Doom had a plan in case anything ever went wrong and he's ever captured by the alternate Fantastic Four. And we flash back to the time when Reed Richards was about to get assassinated by the alternate Reed Richards. Before that could happen, our Reed Richards was teleported away. And Dr. Doom revealed that he has the original Reed Richards away at his castle into the alternate universe. And they have to go there and get him. And this leads them on a mission to try to find our Reed Richards. And long story short, as they go through alternate dimensions, and they also are able to find Reed Richards, our Reed Richards, and save him. But and during this whole event, this would be the perfect time for them to get to know each other, the banter, especially between Johnny Storm, who's very much of a jokester, and Ben Grimm, who's a trained agent, take things seriously. You can see the back and forth go back and forth with them and how they start having that little rivalry coming about. But when they find Reed Richards, Reed and his know-how know that they cannot survive as is because we're being hunted down. One of the people who have powers were She-Hulk and Reed. And so Reed makes the decision to douse them all with cosmic energy to give all of them powers and abilities to be able to fight off their alter versions. And this is going to be one of the reasons why, yes, he'll feel guilty later on that he transformed his friend Ben Grimm to the thing because he and Ben Grimm are friends, even though they haven't seen each other in years. And he'll feel that guilt. but he had to transform them so they could have a chance of fighting their altered self. And through obviously, Fantastic Four ability to figure things out and their powers, they're able to defeat the alternate versions of themselves. But to find out that was Doctor Doom's plan all along in case his first one failed. And now Doctor Doom is free. He had a contingency plan in case he had failed the first time around to collapse the other universe. Now realizing that his universe is lost, he has decided that the best thing he can do right now is to prohibit that from happening again by taking over this universe. And Dr. Doom wants to make sure that can never happen again. Now, the reason why we set this up is because we want to set up a villain, and Dr. Doom will be the main villain moving forward. And we wanted to set him up with reasons why he is how he is. His world was destroyed more or less because he didn't have complete control, because other people stopped him from doing what he needed to do. So now he has the ability to make sure it doesn't happen again. And he would do so on this planet. And it gives him meaning, it gives him weight, and it gives him a different reason than Thanos, who wanted to kill half the world. He doesn't want that. He wants to take over and rule it like a god, if you will. Not a benevolent one, but one that's necessary to keep the planet moving and running, and everybody alive. That's his goal. Misguided, yes, but that's his goal. And it gives him an interesting arc because he can already now have a rivalry with Reed Richards, because he will always remember that his version of Reed Richards was always evil. And although this version is good right now, he still has the same mindset that can turn him evil at any second. So he'll never trust this Reed Richards. He'll always think this Reed Richards is one step away for being somebody who will annihilate and destroy the world like the alternate Reed Richards did. And this gives him that complexity. Now, the post-credit scene will show that Doctor Doom is free. He is ready to begin his ultimate plan and of his world conquest. And he is now in a position of the way to do it is to go into the great beyond and take the powers from a great beyond and become a god himself, as he says it. And that's how we will end. Now, the final film, which might be split into two, would be Avengers Secret Wars. So we'll have it go in a couple of ways. One, we have Kamala, who woken up and she's no longer really being detained. She's being held by S.H.I.E.L.D., but not really detained. So she goes off and she realized that the rest of the younger Avengers are still being held prisoner, and they are in the ransomware. So she goes off to free them, and they go about looking to prove that the president is from the alternate world. Meanwhile, Fantastic Four goes to see how they can stop Doctor Doom now that he's free and he's trying to take over everything. He's getting the alternates to move against the Fantastic Four, and they're trying to see how they can stop him before he takes over completely this world as well. At the same time, we find out that Namor actually had Black Panther Shuri alive and well, and she was resting after being stabbed and left for dead. Namor actually found her and brought her here to heal. And now Black Panther, even though they're still at war with America, are bound to see if they can use their forces to stop the alternate president and help with the fight against Doom. Now, on the other planet, on the other alternate world, we see our Avengers and our X-Men trying to also fight off the Sentinels, fighting off the Doombots, and to stop Apocalypse and his four horsemen, including the Dark Beast and Archangel, as they hope to get them back and change them back to our side. And their quest to try to save as many people as they can and find a way off this planet, because they realize this planet is doomed on this battle world, and find a way, see if they can save as many people as they can back into the other planet, because they realize that Doctor Doom is ready to destroy this universe. And if Doctor Doom gets the power of the Beyond, he will start again over into a new one that he can control, and he can ensure that people will not be basically be killing each other off. Now, this will lead to a whole bunch of fighting on both sides, and if it is split into two parts, first part will be called Secret Wars, the second part will be called Doomsday. The Secret Wars part would, like I said, work on trying to get as many people as possible And the Avengers X-Men will find the original people. They'll find the original Nick Fury, the original Cassie, and those who got swapped out. They will find them, and together they will free the others. Now, there may be some that may not make it, like maybe Jan and possibly Hank may sacrifice themselves in order to save Hope and Ant-Man and to get them back. We will have Red Guardian possibly sacrifice himself to save his only daughter left. And Nick Fury may also make the ultimate sacrifice in order to save everyone in the group. So it almost be like a bygone of one era and the beginning of another. But for the most part, they'll be able to find people that we have lost that all gotten swapped out, like President Ross, the real one, and try to get them out. Now, if we have to split it up to two parts, it may end with Doom's actually reaching the power of the great beyond, if you will, the beyonder's power, almost like a godlike status. He warps and changes the world into his image, and everybody's almost changed with it, with the exception of Kamala Khan. And the reason why Kamala Khan gets away with this is because of the cosmic band on her wrist. So then she can start in the second one, start trying to help get everybody's memories back in order to defeat Doom once and for all and bring the world back to where it originally was. Now, Miss Marvel will also have help. She will find out that Peter Quill, who's also on Earth, is also unaffected by this, mainly because he's half celestial. Shang-Chi was also not affected thanks to the 10 rings on his arms. And Jean Grey and the Scarlet Witch were also not affected, as Jean Grey was once a cosmic entity known as the Phoenix, and the Scarlet Witch was not affected because she also was a Nexus being unable to be affected by Doom's beyond ability. And together, they're able to reach both the Guardians of the Galaxy to come down over to help, and they're also able to reach the real Thor, who's out in space with his daughter, and they come over as well. And together, they are able to help get our heroes back on track and stop Doom, most likely due to assistance, or major assistance with the Fantastic Four, once they're able to get them out of the trance. And we end the story with Doom loses beyond his power and become back to normal and then be captured. However, Doom was smart. During the occupancy of the Alternate taking over key positions within the world, including the presidency, Doom used that opportunity to have them recognize his small country that he carved for himself, named Latveria, as a legitimate country. And he brought people from the alternate world over there to be housed there to serve him and to reign him as the true ruler of Latveria. And being the true ruler of it, he can now claim diplomatic immunity and demand for him to be released or risk going to war with Latveria, which is a country that does house nuclear weapons. Not wanting to risk war with a country of unknown power, the United States of America released Doom back to Latveria. And as he's released, he vows that this is not over. So the story will end in a few ways. One, Miss Marvel and Captain Marvel will reconcile with each other. They probably won't be as close as they were before, but they will at least make amends. With the real American president back in command, the American president will end the war with Wakanda, although things will still remain uneasy between the two nations, which can lead to war situations in Black Panther 4. Meanwhile, the Wakanda Nation will also aid the X-Men because they see Storm as part of the Wakanda Nation. And so they will aid her and her mutants by providing them a mansion in Westchester. The X-Men, in honor of Xavier, will name it the Xavier Institute. And that's where they will rebuild their school and to house any mutants who want sanctuary there, and also to learn their powers, as Storm will be the leader and the headmaster of that place. Magneto, although says he will be with the X-Men when needed, he will take the rest of the mutants who don't want to be housed as the X-Men into other sanctuaries, and he'll try to find other places where he can help other mutants in the meantime. The Avengers will continue onward with Captain America as the leader. Captain Marvel will step down as being a leading force and give it to Captain America because she needs to explore herself and see find ways where she can trust herself again. And the Fantastic Four will join together and stay part of a team, learn from each other and become more of a closer unit. And they will go to Reed Richards' little place, the Baxter Building, and be there. Now, as the Multiverse Saga ends, this sets up a great building platform for the next phase, which would be both the Mutant Saga and eventually also the Galactic Saga. And how what that will happen, what will occur there is because, like I said, most of the people who are from the alternate world, they are now stuck on our world. Their world was destroyed. It was too far gone. So now the people are stuck here. Problem is that as Thanos has said before, there's an overpopulation risk. And now we are overpopulated. And unfortunately, most people who are getting blamed for this are the mutants because the other alternates looking normal. It's hard to tell who's from our place and who's not because unless you check their social security number, you won't know. And some of them all looking like us. Maybe some people who have passed away or some people who were never born in the first place. You can't tell them apart. However, besides Miss Marvel, mutants didn't really exist here, besides maybe a few people here and there before the alternates came over. So the mutants are the easiest scapegoat to be like, these are the people to blame for all the resources now being strained. So they start blaming the mutants and they can really start pushing their prejudices against the mutants. This will cause a whole bunch of issues to occur in other X-Men related properties. And we can tell stories such as the Mutant Massacre, the Holy War, and the Extinction Agenda. Also, don't think I forgot about my boy Cyclops. We still haven't found Cyclops or Xavier. And in X-Men 2, we will explore that because it's like the other X-Men had their own movie before I really put them together as a group to shine. I couldn't just put Cyclops in at the end, so I had to save him for later. And you can save him for this movie, a movie on X-Men 2, which will be geared towards Cyclops as Cyclops return, but not to join the X-Men as he considers them too weak and ineffective to get the job done. No, he returns with his own team, and among them is Emma Frost, his new right-hand person and lover, as he searches for Xavier, and which leads him to a confrontation with both the X-Men and Mr. Sinister. And this is where we get a perfect opportunity to see what affects Cyclops, why he thinks this way, what makes him tick. Because so many people have died on his last go around because he got too close, he wanted to have a relationship with Jean and stuff like that. He realized he had to harden himself. He can't let himself get emotional. He has to be a true tactician from beginning to end. He has to be able to make the tough plays no one else would make, the sacrifices that he may have to do to save the people. And you find more like in the middle ground between how Xavier's idealism works with Magneto's pragmatism. And you will see that in him. You get to explore that. And this will lead us to two exploration. One, his relationship he has between Jean Grey and Emma Frost. And two, who should really be the leader of the X-Men overall when the time comes. Should it be Storm or should it be Cyclops? Which one makes the better leader? And we get to explore that as they go to face off Mr. Sinister and this new being called Onslaught. Those who know about the comics, you know how that relates to everything else. So we have all these other political stuff that we can have in regards to mutants. And it doesn't just go from the mutants alone, because remember what a Captain America movie should be about. Captain America movie should be about the ideals of America versus the reality of America and where does what fit and where. So you can have a lot of stories in regards to that as well, in regards to the overpopulation, to the security, to what we do within our government. Now, obviously, this leads to another thing because, like I said, it's overpopulation going on Earth. So, what should we do? We should expand. And this is where our cosmic stuff comes in. When we have people like the Fantastic Four, Ant-Man, even some of the Avengers who can expand, like Thor, start expanding and going to other galaxies, searching for other planets for people to populate, whether it's the humans or the mutants or both, because we are overcrowded and we need room to grow. So they can do that and can get them put in the galactic stage where we can fight face off on some things, like find ourselves facing off the Brood, the Shi'ar, and the Kree and the Skrulls and other people as well that can be more lifting. And we can take these incidents to explore different types of stories, especially like people in Fantastic Four, because Fantastic Four should always be having a science fiction element to it. It can be a sci-fi horror one moment and a sci-fi thriller or sci-fi part which deals with many scientific theories of so many nature. And we should be able to explore these ideas. And so should they, and they will have now reasons to do so, reasons to go into those galactic stages. And so we can do that. And also, let's not forget, some people in the galactic stage may not be too happy with Earth, especially the Kree who may not be happy with Captain Marvel. And we can accept stories with Captain Marvel being hunted down by the Kree, maybe even certain other elements looking to bring her to justice, as she would be seen as a terrorist to many. And what do we do with that? So we have other levels to go. And if I had my way, I would use this opportunity to definitely revamp Captain Marvel. Captain Marvel trying to reinvest herself and they get caught by the Kree, deal with that, and this can lead us to a different galactic stage where the Kree maybe want to go to war with Earth, and maybe even the Skrulls may want to get involved as well. And this can lead to a galactic storm incident where the Avengers may again have to face off and try to stop an invading force from crouching upon them. And if then people still not warm to Captain Marvel, then Captain Marvel could then take the initiative and do a heroic sacrifice somewhere during the Galactic Storm incident. So that way we can continue on the storylines. But people like to like her, then she can continue onward. But yeah, these are some of my thoughts. I think they can work. Let me know what you think. And remember to like, share, and subscribe. Thank you.